The Packers couldn't overcome Max. Daniel Jones took 7 more sacks. The Panthers still can't seem to hack it, while the Jets won for Nathaniel Hackett. And the Pats once again benched Mac. Welcome to the Mishpo. Alrighty, welcome to the Week 5 episode of the Mishpo. We finally have someone else on the show. T-Corn has been able to join us today, so welcome back, T-Corn. Yeah, before we jump in, I've got myself a Sam Adams Oktoberfest. We're a bit into October now, so could have done that in the first episode in October, but I just figured I would do it now.
And I have some good old fashioned H2O.
Ooh.
Some of you may know this, but I went to a beer festival this week, and it's going to be a few more days before I start drinking again. It was a long day. There was a lot of beer and liquor consumed, so I'm going on a little break.
Yeah, that beer fest. Part of the reason is I'm doing the Oktoberfest is that beer fest. They had a number of Oktoberfest that I tried that were pretty tasty, so I figured I'd get another or have another Oktoberfest. So let's see. I don't believe there were any trades since last episode. I am quickly just double checking that, and it appears that there have not been.
I don't see any.
A bit of I pointed out that I think it was to you, right, at Thursday pickups or not pickups, fall league, that since or through the first 5 weeks, I feel like there's been way less trades in this league than last year. And then you pointed out what that potentially could be about.
Yeah, I think part of it might be because Derek is no longer in this league, and feel like he got the trades rolling, and I think honestly, I think we need one person, and then normally more trades kind of fall from there. So I think once we
like
get one out of the
we've
way,
had a few, but yeah, they've been like the Jameson Williams for like a pick swap. We need like one of those big trades to go through to maybe get the juices flowing. So
yeah,
I was on the verge of trading for Raheem Mostert, but then Adam realized that A-Chain was potentially going on IR, so he did not want to do that anymore.
Makes sense.
I was hoping I could get it done before he realized, but he did eventually realize. So, speaking of, I saw also over the weekend, Caleb got married, so super exciting stuff for him. And I was at the wedding, and I saw Derek, and I told him about that little theory, and he just had a little laugh. So, but yeah, so we might as well, I guess, just jump into last week's matchups. So, without further ado, we will start with my matchup, and not gonna lie, this one hurt. Maybe not everybody followed along, but I have Justin Fields and Miles Sanders, Miles Sanders, but also DJ Moore, and so they played Thursday night, and so after Thursday night, Fiala had Roshan, so he only had 1.9, and between Fields and DJ Moore, they scored like 81 points. And so after Thursday night, I had an 81 point lead. And so, naturally I was feeling pretty good. But the rest of my team just kind of shit the bed. Miles Sanders only 0.2 points, 0 from Hunter Henry. Sutton only had 2.3. Dobbs, it was later on, but only 1.4. All right, I guess, for the Indy defense, 4.25. At least Dallas didn't go off. Otherwise, it would have been really bad for me. But McCaffrey didn't do as much as I, typically expect from him. I'm expecting at least probably 10 more points from him. Zay Flowers did all right. 12.3 is not bad, considering he did drop probably two or three of those catches, or two or three of his targets. But yeah, it really, that one sucks when you're up by 80 points. And then also on Sunday morning, Fiala had Josh Allen and Travis Etienne play, and between those two, you get about, what is that, 70 almost. I'm not very good at math, but I'm like, well, shoot, that makes things interesting.
Yeah.
But I was still feeling pretty good. But yeah, he, just had some solid performances. Travis Kelce left the game for a little bit. I was hoping that, he would just miss the rest of that game, but he came back and scored a touchdown, of course. Of course, Chris Olave had to get a touchdown as well, and Zach Ertz had to get a touchdown as well. So, yeah, just really unfortunate for me. But that's just fantasy for you. So,
I mean, hey, hats off to Fiala.
yeah.
You're like you said, you're feeling good after a Thursday night
Mm-hmm.
of getting that stack scoring 75 points. So hats off.
Yeah. Hoping that those two can continue to ball out this upcoming week, as I do have another tough matchup. But yeah, so that was me versus Fiala. Another matchup. Next one is Abby versus Brian. And as you can see, Abby won and defeated the, at the time, undefeated Brian. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Obviously, Anthony Richardson left that game early, still did pretty, in terms of, stats, all right. Considering I don't know how early he left, but um, he was potentially on his way to a good day. Alvin Kamara continues to be great after returning from the suspension. So good stuff from him. A couple other injury bugged players here. Jefferson, who I think he's officially on IR now.
He's on IR. Yeah,
And then
that's a tough hit.
Adams did play, but was not super effective. Still had a decent game, but obviously you want more from him. Sam Laporta just continuing to be a beast. Rocking that double tight end with Waller also did very well. But Abby just had, she had a lot more things go her way. George Pickens with that incredible game-winning touchdown. Mixon did pretty solid. And then, yeah, I mean, just all around pretty solid scores here. So kudos to Abby for knocking off one of the top dogs. And yeah, Abby got the win.
That was a good win.
There, yep.
Brian is now a part of the defeated
4-1.
club.
Yep. We still got one more. It was pretty close. Well, we'll get to that matchup, but only one person left in the undefeated club. So the next matchup was a pretty big blowout between State Farm and Colin. I believe State may have been on a losing streak, so this probably felt pretty good for him. 135.33 he beat Colin to his 96.79. Joe Burrow finally had his game. 3 touchdowns, all 3 to Jamar. And so when we get to Caleb's matchup, we'll highlight him. Yeah, but just, across the board, pretty solid stuff from State. Even with Cooper Kupp coming back, Tutu still was, well, he got the touchdown, but he was still able to provide some value. George Kittle took all of Christian McCaffrey's touchdowns, all 3. It's crazy. Three catches for 67 yards and 3 touchdowns. So pretty good stat line for him there. Jacoby Myers, I know you liked that. He did pretty well yesterday, T-Corn.
I did.
Pretty solid stuff from Komet and Hopkins as well. And yeah, I mean, just good stuff here. Alrighty. Well, moving on to the aforementioned Caleb versus Matt. Um, Matt just still can't seem to get another victory. He's definitely he may have dropped a little bit. We did have some high scores this week, so he may have dropped a little bit in total points for, but I still believe he's probably in the top 5. Jared Goff had a game. And there he is, Jamar Chase, 52.2 points, 15 of 19 for 192 and 3. So that's pretty good way to break back onto the scene with some touchdowns. So good stuff from him. Josh Downs had 15.7, so pretty good. Dallas Goedert had a game. Khalil Herbert was looking good before he unfortunately had that really awkward injury where he kind of like bent backwards on his leg.
Mm-hmm.
He'll probably be out for a couple weeks. So Juicy Juice, the surprise pickup and play for Matt, found the end zone. 12.6 points for Kyle for him.
What a ballsy move, putting in a fullback.
The
I
number
mean, I
one
know he's
fullback
labeled as an
now.
RB, but he's a fullback, so it's a
crazy.
ballsy move by Matt. But I mean, I know he lost. It paid off though.
He's just got that magic touch with the waiver wire because Puka with Cooper Kupp coming back, he still is able to go out there and get 19.1 points. His other waiver wire darling, Kyron Williams, not so great compared to previous outings. Only 7.7, but still a decent amount of work. And then Trevor Lawrence had a tough game over there. They got the win, but tough game in London with those 3 fumbles. So hope better days for him. But Caleb blew Matt out of the water here, 152.24 to 102.75.
Yeah, and real quick fun fact on that. Yeah, Matt is currently really getting shit on every week. He's got the most points against him with 664. Joey, actually, you come in second with 650 scored against you. Then the third, we have to go all the way down to 607, and that's Fiala against that points scored against their team. So there's a pretty, besides Matt and Joey, there's a pretty big gap with 3, and then even thereafter. So it's tough to rack up wins when you're just
getting so many points scored.
Yeah, which that's just the luck piece of it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like I said, going in, I feel like we had pretty solid teams, but it's just unfortunate when you're constantly facing these teams that just happen to score a little bit more. I mean, you saw in the the weekly recap, I had the most points in a loss. So, just sometimes that ball bounces the wrong way, and it's been seeming to do that more often than not for the two of us. So hopefully that'll balance itself out as the season goes on. So moving us on to our next matchup, T-Corn versus Sam. Pretty good stuff from Sam Howell. 26.42. He's not your normal starter, is he? Or
no, I had Herbert on a bye.
So I mean,
and
that's
then
a pretty
Jahmyr
good...
Gibbs got hurt late.
But yeah, it's a pretty good fill-in, if I do say so. Brees finally got unleashed. I bet you're pretty happy to see that report come out that he would be no longer on a snap count, and then just happens to have a very, very, very good game. So things are looking up for him. Speaking of kind of returning, well, Cooper Kupp came back 19.8. So again, pretty much 2 guys you didn't really have last week are now back, and pretty solid stuff. Logan Thomas, how about that guy, huh? Also, you got that stack, so that's pretty neat. 19.7. So pretty good stuff from him. And your defense did all right as well, 9.25. The Bengals defense, though, did phenomenal, 21.5 against Arizona, who had been playing pretty well up to that point. Devon Achane, 20.5, so still just incredible stuff from him. Probably wish I would have spent a bit more on Fab to try to get him, but you win some, you lose some. And then Patrick Mahomes just 19.24. Probably wanted a bit more, but that's pretty solid stuff. So, and yeah, you beat Sam by about 30 points. So 137.17 to 107.54. Any other words about your matchup, T Corn?
Nope, I'm happy my team's finally doing well, and I'm healthy-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Moving us on to the penultimate matchup of last week. We've got Michael versus Lincoln. I believe this was probably the closest matchup of the week. 10 points. And for a little bit there with how the Packers defense was looking, it looked like Lincoln could have had a chance. That was the last play remaining on both teams. And Lincoln needed 26 on the Packers. I mean, they got halfway there. So, um, you know, we'll just start from the bottom here, though, as well. The Dolphins defense did pretty well with 14. Adam Thielen continues to just be incredible. The wide receiver 10 at the age of 33. So how about that? 27.7 points more from him. He's been above 23 of the 5 weeks, which is pretty crazy. So pretty good stuff from him. Not as great for these next couple guys. Nico, 6.9 only, 3.9 from Kincaid and Devonta Smith. Only one catch for 6 yards, but I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes if you've got a lot of good weapons on one team. So I'm sure he will have a bounce back game. Zach Moss, though, in his supposed, Christian with Jonathan Taylor coming back, you weren't quite sure how he would be used, and apparently quite a bit. Had a lot of carries, 23 for 165 and 2 touchdowns, including like a 60-something yard run, and then tacked on 2 receptions for 30 yards. So, I mean, there's no way Zach Moss is going to continue to get that usage with Jonathan Taylor signing that extension. But
No,
I mean, I'd just keep riding that train while you can.
that's unless Jonathan pending injury from Taylor. I think
Yeah.
that's the last time you see that big of a relevance from Moss.
And I mean, he could, unless he breaks another big touchdown, which I mean, he did last week. So who's
Can
so
happen.
it could happen again. So, and then not great stuff again from these last two guys. 5 from Najee and 7.32 from Dak Prescott. Did you see? I can't remember the guy's name, but it was a former NFL player who is now a broadcaster, and he just like flat out said Dak sucks on national television.
I
It just
mean, he's not playing well right now.
no,
Dallas is trending in the side of either they're blowing a team out or they're getting blown out. Their games are not close.
yeah,
They're
yep,
either going all out or they're taking a big shit on the field.
yeah. Kind of speaking of along those lines, Stafford did good ish, but Ramondre Stevenson just not looking good. That entire team looks to be in a bit of trouble. It's I believe back-to-back weeks that Bill Belichick has seen his biggest losses of his career. Um, yeah, losing 34-0 to the Saints. Ramondre only 2.4. The now also on IR, James Conner, 4.6 points. So he's going to be out for a while. So the running backs over here for Michael, despite being 5-0, aren't trending in the right way. Um,
No, what's been keeping Michael's team afloat through this winning streak has been his receivers, and we knew that.
yep,
Especially when you have Tyreek Hill and Amon-Ra St. Brown, two
yep,
wide receiver ones on your team, two alpha dogs. Yeah, you're gonna be doing well. You just need the rest of your team to kind of stay afloat, which
yep.
I think that's kind of what Michael's doing right now. So he's trending down a little bit, but I think he still has guys that can keep him in a good position.
Yeah, and Amon-Ra didn't even play this week, and he was able to get a good score from his team. Ayuk had a bit of a down game as well, 9.8, but that's still pretty good. Gabe
Mhm.
Davis, 22 from him, so He's looking pretty good. And then Jerry Judy had 11. So yeah, pretty solid stuff from Michael's team. 5-0 on the season. And yeah, 117.48 to 107.32. Moving on to the final matchup, Adam versus Bruce. Yeah, this was pretty high scoring here for Adam, especially. He's just got some dogs on his team. Josh Jacobs went off, had a pretty solid game. Montgomery just continues to look great. AJ Brown, of course, he's good. You know, playing Jonnu Smith, the tight end in Atlanta, which is kind of crazy. I think actually Kyle Pitts did have a better week this week, but it's so funny that we had him benched this week and Jonnu got started. So crazy world we're living in.
Mm-hmm.
Raheem Mostert, 14.8. So not as great as he had been seeing lately, but that's still pretty good for him. And then 23 for the Jets defense. -1 for the Washington defense over for Bruce there. Probably the only bright spot besides AJ Dillon for the Packers offense was the Luke Musgrave, 9.4. So pretty good stuff from him. Schultz, another tight end, 19.5 from him. He looks, pretty good. Diggs, of course, pretty good stuff from him, 23.1. And then Jalen Hurts, 28.32, so pretty good stuff from him. But ultimately was not enough. Adam got the victory, 137.86 to Bruce's 114.5. So, yeah. So that was last week's matchups. Oh, just had 2 minutes to go. Matt dropped Kyle Juice. So 1 week renter, pretty good output from him. So, but that'll happen sometimes. So, before we hop into the next week's matchups, I will quickly run through the updated power rankings. We've got at 14 Lincoln, 13 Sam, 12 State, 11 Abby, 10 Colin, 9 Matt, 8 Bruce, 7 myself, 6 T Corn, 5 Fiala, 4 Adam, 3 Caleb, 2 Brian, and 1 Michael. So of course a bit of shifting around, but a couple places stayed the same. That's the top 2 spots in this case. So what does Michael rank on the season for points scored? If you have that in front of you while I pull up next week's matchups.
I think he's got to be up there because he had some pretty big weeks the first few weeks.
The first couple
he's
he
number
went
one.
off.
Yep, he's number one by a solid 50 points. He's number 1 for the season.
Damn.
Yeah. So he's got 654, and I think the second has 605, and that's Caleb's team, and then Fiala's at 604.
Yeah, but then me and Matt, I believe, are just under 600. So
you're just under. Yeah, there's a handful of teams that are just right in that like 590 to 599 range. So
sure.
But yeah, Michael's. Like I said, Michael's team was really hot off the gates, but I'm really concerned about those running backs.
Yeah,
he might be a guy that can maybe get some type of a trade going. Or he might have to look at the waivers to see what he can get. But this time of the year, the waivers are a little bit more difficult to get starting caliber players. So just it depends what he wants to do.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we will hop into this first matchup. T-Corn, you want to take the lead on it?
Yes, sir. Yes, we got Joey against Adam. So this is going to be a pretty interesting matchup here. So I'll just start with Joey's squad. So he's got that big stack of Fields and Moore going against Minnesota. I really like that matchup because the Vikings defense has not been playing well for the most part this year. He does have then McCaffrey going up against Cleveland. They've been pretty decent against the run, so I'm intrigued to see how that goes. But CMC always does good and gets his, so I don't really have too many concerns there. He just might not have as many yards as you're used to seeing. but he should still find the end zone. Um, I think an interesting thing too is going to be your tight end. I think that's the one I'm most intrigued about because Hunter Henry, first 2 weeks of the year, did fantastic. And since then, you've kind of been seeing him on a down spiral. He didn't even score any points last week. So I'm a little
Yep.
worried about that because the Patriots are kind of a dumpster fire right now. And we're not used to seeing that. So
Yep.
watch out. Um, and then going over to Adam's side here, Kirk Cousins against the Bears. Again, I think this game is going to be so high scoring against the Bears and the Vikings that honestly, both quarterbacks should score above their projections. I think in this
I
contest.
Yeah, I think so too.
I
And just I would so
Yeah.
love the Vikings to lose. That'd be hilarious.
Oh, it would be. I'd love that. I don't think you're getting the points you got last week out of that stack, but I think you should out of both of them get 40 points. Like I would not be surprised if you got about 28 points from Justin Fields and a solid 15 points from DJ Moore because that's been his
Yep.
go-to guy and he's really good. So
Hmm.
I really like Adams. I really like his flex spots. Overall, I like his running backs. If Jahmyr Gibbs isn't fully healthy, you've been seeing them use Montgomery a lot because first off, he's a little bit. I don't think he's the better back, but he's the more experienced back. So he knows more what he's doing, and I think the Lions are relying on a guy like him a little bit more because of that. Um, and he's being effective.
Mm.
Like I don't know where he ranks right now. He's the RB8. So,
Yep.
um, and then you got Josh Jacobs who is an RB10, and then Mostert who's RB2. So you got three RB1s on his team. Joey, I think your team might have a hard time keeping up in points with Adam. Because I
Yeah.
think with Devon A Chain being out, he's going to go off if he's healthy.
Yep.
So I think this is going to be one of the higher scoring matchups of the week. I'm leaning towards taking Adam, so I'm picking Adam because of those running backs. I like his running backs a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty hard to argue with. Yeah, 3 top 10 running backs. And yeah, didn't even mention he's got some pretty solid receivers and AJ Brown, obviously, Terry, and then Chris Godwin as well. So yeah, I mean, Adam's got a very good squad over here. Yeah, I'm just hoping my guys can kind of go above and beyond. Zay Flowers, I'm hoping he finally has he hasn't scored a touchdown yet, so I'm hoping he can kind of reel in some of those receptions he dropped last week and then add an end zone trip. Rashad White also pointed out he's going up against the Lions defense, which we know is pretty tough. I think they're number one against the run, so a little bit concerned about that. May make a pivot, but we'll see about that. But obviously, I'm going to go myself. I think it's close enough to where I don't think that's outlandish. You know, the Vikings were working out a quarterback earlier today, so they may be potentially looking to get something out of Kirk on his last year. So I'm not saying it'll happen, within the next 5 days, but it'd be very interesting to
And
see.
I'm intrigued to see Cousins' production without JJ, without Justin
Yep.
Jefferson. So that'll be something to watch because
So
he could underperform. So you never know.
exactly, yeah. So, but yeah, I'm gonna pick myself here, and we'll move on to. Ooh, this is gonna be a fun matchup here. Actually, hold on. Is this? No, this is not. But I was wondering this is if this was the
Rivalry?
rivalry week, but that
Nope,
is, I
it's not.
believe, next week.
It's funny. I thought the same thing because we got the
Yep.
roommates going up against each other this week, and yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one because right now Matt is predicted to win. I know projections
Hmm.
don't mean much, but we kind of hit on it before. Michael was Kenneth Walker,
He
was
was
he on
on bye
bye
last
last
week.
week? Okay. So I guess I didn't realize before he's got Kenneth Walker. So that makes a little bit more sense now. I guess
Yep.
I'm not as concerned about his team then, knowing that James Conner wasn't his RB2, but I'm still worried about Ramondre Stevenson. I think he'll have a bounce back week this week because I think they'll be able to keep up with the Raiders, but just keep an eye on him from the rest of the season because honestly, he's not going to be utilized as much when the Patriots are always behind.
Right.
So,
And they're using Zeke a bit more too, I believe. So
mhm.
that'll cut into it.
But yeah, I might again. Michael's receivers are really good. We'll have to watch if Amon Ra is able to come and play because I'm pretty sure Amon Ra should be playing this week. And then on Matt's side, he's got guys that like you're surprised at how well they're doing because preseason these weren't guys that were starters or stars, but he's
Yeah.
got guys like Kyron Williams, Puka, Jordan Addison, just some guys that were just not really like fantasy relevant or on the radar in the beginning, but now are.
Right.
So, can those guys keep up what they've been doing? And then also to Keenan Allen, he's been a dog this year. So, um, man, I keep saying Matt because I really like his team. I like the underdog mentality, and I think too, just looking at some of the matchups Michael has, some of his receivers might not have as big of weeks as what they've been having. So I'm going to lean towards Matt. I'm going to pick him as my upset because this man's got to get a break at some point.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, you mentioned Addison wasn't a star. With Jefferson out, maybe he should have an increased role. So we'll see if he can take advantage and ball out for him. But
I
yeah,
mean, I know Matt's not number 14 because he's got more points, but this is number 13 going against number 1. What better time to get your
that would
second
be
win, Matt, than right
yeah,
now? Turn the
yeah.
tide. Let's go.
I'm gonna pick Matt as well. It's just I'm not sure if it's the want more than the actual, what I think. But
Yeah, yeah, I
I mean,
agree.
he's like you said, he's got some great players over here. Um, Obviously he's puts up a lot of points, so he's not a bad team in any means. It's just unlucky. So yeah, I'm going Matt as well. Ooh, T Corn versus Abby.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be an interesting one. I think she's got some players on bye, so we'll,
Yep,
we'll have to
George
continue to
Pickens
watch that.
and the Pittsburgh defense.
She should
Um,
be getting Saquon Barkley back though, so that'll be good. Because having Damian Harris as your RB2 is just that's
yeah,
tough. He hasn't been playing a lot with the Bills right now, so
yep,
um, so yeah, as long as Saquon can come back, this should be a really good matchup. If Saquon doesn't come back, I don't think her team's going to be able to score enough points in other places. Debo's been kind of a roller coaster this year. He's had some big weeks, but then he's had like I think one or two letdown weeks. Um, tight end for her is a really strong spot, and her flex pieces are decent. It looks like they have some decent matchups, but not really the first or second options necessarily in their offenses. So, when you're not the first or second option in your offense, it's tough to know what you're going to get on a week over week basis.
hmm
So, I I like my team. I'll kind of talk a little bit about that. I like, Brees Hall. I should hopefully have Jameer Gibbs this week. Otherwise, I do have other substitutions I can make, but I really like my receivers now that I'm healthy. I like Cup, Kirk, and Lamb. I think that's huge for me. I think my depth's a little like I think I have a little bit more depth than her in some of those receiver spots that I think, I give my team the edge. And that's why, no matter what, I'm going to take myself. But that's
yep,
why I'm taking myself.
yep. And obviously you're gonna plug in Herbert. And yeah, like you're saying, Gibbs will be hopefully back for you. So, um, yeah, I'm gonna pick you as well. You could even if you want, you could probably maybe go over. It's if Wandale's out, I feel like Osborne wouldn't be a terrible option
Right.
again with Jefferson out. So, yeah, I'm going to pick you here. Abby obviously has some solid players, but and it'll look obviously closer projection wise once she fills these bye players. But just looking
Mhm.
at the bench here, obviously Saquon is Saquon, but other than that, I mean, not great options. Um, and then obviously whatever defense she gets will be, I mean, they're all pretty similar percentage or projection wise, but it'll definitely look closer than it is looking right now. But I think you got it, T-Corn. So um, next matchup we have Sam versus State Farm.
Damn. I think
Probably surprised with the
State
state
also
too.
changed his name, so
Yep.
he changed it while we're
I
recording
think
right
it's
now to
adults.
adults.
Oh,
Yeah,
let's see if we refresh it. It'll show up for us. Yep, there it is. Adults.
nice.
Oh wait. Oh, hold on. This is last week. There we are. Adults versus babies.
I think yeah, I get why he changed it. I like the word on play.
Yep.
The
Play
yeah,
on
so
words.
yeah, play on words. Thank you. I appreciate you. Um, yeah, dude, State got a huge win last week. He needed that for morale. Joe
Hmm.
Burrow finally did something. He
Yep.
is alive. He moved from QB 31 to 26 with that outing. So good for him.
Pretty good
Um,
stuff.
let's see if he can keep it up.
Yeah.
He's got Swift. His running backs are pretty decent. And I think he has some solid receivers too.
Hmm.
Just a lot of like I wouldn't necessarily say top tier guys right now, but a lot of like mid tier, like wide receiver, twos, uh,
Yep.
running back twos, outside of maybe like Swift, obviously. But um, he's got a decent team. I think he's just hit a couple injuries and bad luck, and I think he's trending in the right direction. Over on Sam's side, this team's performed a lot better than what I've thought. I know he's 14th and in last place, but his team has done better than what I originally thought they would. Um, really, the Dolphins running back Devin King, that's going to be huge. It sounds like he was going to be put on IR, so Sam's got to find a
Potentially.
replacement for him. And I'm just
Well,
looking.
he's got JT in his flex. So I'm sure he'll just move him up and then throw
But he doesn't
someone
really
else.
have any other well, if T. Higgins plays, then he can replace him pretty easily. But
Yeah.
I mean, you're starting Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins
Mm.
with him going against Joe Burrow. I don't like that. And Cincinnati hasn't been consistent enough right now for me to even like it either way. I still, again, I'm gonna say that I still like his team more than what I talked about earlier in the season because I think he's trending in the right direction. So
Mm.
I think it just kind of shows the depths of our league and everybody here. But I lean towards State Farm. This is a game he needs to win. If he doesn't, then he could be in the contention for Sacco at that point. I think. I
Yeah,
know,
and
we're talking week 6, but I think if you lose a game like this, you throw his name in the hat of Sacco.
yep, yep, and I mean Sam also he's worse than State in terms of record. So this is a must win for both teams here. Um, you know, with like we keep going back to Justin Jefferson, he just gets so many targets when he's out. It's going to help the guys around him fantasy wise. PJ
Mhm.
Hawkinson should get an increase from his already great volume that he's seeing. Um, lowest targets on the season was 3 in week 4, but other than that, it's been 9, 8, 11, 8. So, I expect him to. I mean, I would not be surprised at all if he's 10 plus targets in this matchup, and
Yeah.
a touchdown because he's done that a few times. Well, just 2 in one game, but I feel like he's kind of due for a touchdown potentially. So, I could definitely see Hawkinson being great for Sam this week. Um, Jonathan Taylor just coming back from the pup. Not great week one for him. Only 4.4, 15% of snaps, only 6 carries. So I obviously expect that workload to increase. I'm not
Well,
sure if they're going to jump
it'll
up to, what, I'm not sure what percentage they'll jump him up to in this week. But obviously it's Jonathan Taylor, so he's good at football. We'll just leave it there for him. But yeah, like you were saying, Achan is gonna for sure probably miss this game, so he'll have to pull someone off of the bench here and throw him into a flex, assuming he just moves Jonathan Taylor into that running back spot. And then yeah, I mean, obviously Patrick Mahomes was pretty good, but I feel like against Denver, it might be one of those situations where he's kind of done playing in the third, fourth quarter, depending on how out of hand that game gets. But I mean, yeah, I think I'm gonna go state here. Just looking at the across the field matchups, I'm giving him the edge on most of them. So yeah, I'm gonna go state here as well. So yeah,
nice.
moving us
Yeah,
on.
Sam's a
Go ahead.
team I don't want to play towards the end of the year, though. I think his team's going to get better, and that's why I make that comment of, you know, Jake, State puts his name in the hat for Sacco because I like Sam's team where it's heading.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit too early with guys coming back from injury.
Yep. Alrighty. Couple of middle of the road teams in terms of record, but I mean, I guess that's kind of all of us. Fiala versus Colin.
Yeah, so Fiala, I mean, he's been putting up some big points this year. ETN's been playing well, so is Josh Allen. Travis Kelsey, obviously, Chris Olave. He's starting tight end in his flex, so it just kind of shows the kind of the depth and even at that position that he has. Looks like he has Christian Watson on bye this week, so he'll have to find somebody for that. But I think overall he's got some good pieces. He's got guys like Robert Woods on his bench, Jameson Williams, who should be factors later in the season. So I mean, he's got a pretty decent team. I worry a little bit about Roshan Johnson, about what his role is going to be, just because I feel like the Bears tend to use him a little bit more when I guess when they're playing behind, which has been often this year. But if they start playing a little bit better, what does that look like? So I got some
Mm-hmm.
question marks there. Going over to Colin's side, man, he's got Lamar Jackson. He's been playing pretty decent. Should hopefully get Austin Eckler back this week, finally. And then receiver end here, he's got some decent receivers: Metcalf, Jacoby Myers, Marquise Brown, and DeAndre Hopkins. All pretty decent guys that can put up some average points each week for your team. So looking at that end, those are all great pieces. With that being said, Fiala's team, man, it's hard to not pick Fiala because his team, like he's just got guys that can explode. Whereas I feel like Collins got guys that are just gonna have a consistent floor week in, week out. So that's what makes it tough for me because I feel like Collins gonna score, 110 points probably, but is Fiala going to go off for 150?
Right.
I think that's why I lean towards Fiala, just because I like the guys that he has, and I like the matchups that I'm seeing this week. Um, so I'm leaning towards that. I hope he doesn't start Zach Ertz because I think that'll be a bad move. That's just my opinion. So I think as long as he gets his flex and receiver situation taken care of, I like what his team offers this week.
Yeah. Just going back to Roche, with Herbert out for this game, it'll be interesting to see if they go Roshan more, or I believe the only other healthy guy is Foreman. So we'll see how that balances between the two. The obviously veteran here and the young gun. who's potentially better. So it'll be interesting to see what that balance is. And then sticking with the Bears, Cole Kmet has been playing pretty well since Justin Fields kind of got his mojo back. The tight end 4 on the season, but if you just look at the last 2 weeks, he's 27.6 and 14.2, both of those weeks with a touchdown. So see if they continue, or if he can continue that against like you mentioned, a not great Minnesota defense. So yeah, I mean, I feel like this is going to be a pretty close matchup. You've got some great defenses. Well, maybe not New England, but Dallas is pretty solid defense, or at least they appear to be at some points during the season. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Obviously, like you said, Watson is currently starting here. He'll have to throw in maybe Jameson if he wants to go for that upside.
I mean, I think either way, you probably put in Woods and Jameson.
Yep.
Have a little bit of upside there. But yeah.
Yeah. This is tough. I think I will go with. Yeah, I think it's gotta be. I mean, I think it's gonna be close. I wouldn't be surprised if Colin wins, but like you mentioned, these guys. I mean, Travis Etienne went off absolutely. This past week, 36.4 points, against Buffalo, and that's not a bad team. So
it's a tough matchup.
I'm gonna go Fiala here as well. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, could go either way. So, moving on to Bruce versus Caleb.
Yeah. So with Caleb's team, he's got Jared Goff, who's been pretty good this year. Man, Bijan Robinson, number 7 RB right now. Telvin Cook, man, he just. I think now with the emergence of Breece Hall, he's just going to start playing a little bit less and less of a role. Played 17% of his snaps last week. I'm concerned about that.
They've been going down every week, yes, the whole season. So
I think if you got somebody else you can supplement in for him, you do that. But I'm just looking through Caleb's lineup. He's going to be out Herbert this week, Khalil Herbert. And I'm looking at his bench, and he's got options, but just not great options. So it's really he's in a tough spot at the RB position right now. And then I look at his receivers. Obviously, the stud Jamar Chase, right, did really good last week. Kind of salvaged his season so far. He's going to be a guy that goes off week in, week out. But then I look at his wide receiver 2, and then his flex spot with Josh Downs and Michael Gallup.
Quite
Downs has
top
been
heavy.
doing decent. He's getting a lot of targets, but again, he's normally the number 2 look in that offense. So he's not going to get you, 15 points week in, week out. He's a guy that's probably across a season going to go between 6 to 15 points, and that hurts your team overall. And then Michael Gallup, he's probably like the 4th option in that offense. He's touchdown dependent. I don't like that. I know he's got Mike Evans. He had a bye last week, so he replaces him and he'll play.
Assuming Mike Evans is healthy, because he's, I believe, dealing with a hamstring.
Yeah. I just have some concerns because of injuries. So, and then other players kind of having, resurgence in their offense coming off of injuries. So, Bruce's side, he's got Jalen Hurts, Tony Pollard, who has been doing all right. And then looking at here, receivers, Diggs, London doing pretty decent. London not as much as you'd hope, but he looks like he's last couple weeks have been doing decent. Man, he's starting 2 tight ends too. It looked like a little concerning, but he should have Amari Cooper back in. Man, this is tough just because both these teams, it just looks like, injuries and bye weeks might hit them hard. Bruce has Aaron Jones out next week. Yeah, I really don't know. I hope if Tank Dell can play, I think I like Bruce's team a lot more. But I think this is going to be our lowest scoring matchup of the week. And I can, I'd be willing to bet on that. So I think I'm going to take Bruce because I just like the upside of some of his players a little bit more.
Yep.
But I'm not shocked if Caleb wins too because both these teams are hurting badly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go Bruce as well. Obviously projections don't mean a ton, but he's already favored, and he's missing a flex spot here. I mean, to be fair, also Caleb is, but um, I feel like you mentioned, the bench or the depth is a bit better. Over he's got Amari Cooper, and then I mean Mike Evans too. But you know, I think you kind of said a lot. Steph Diggs, I'm sure he'll have a good game, and then Jalen Hurts has Jalen Hurts and Tony have the chance to absolutely just go off for a week. So I think he's got the higher upside, but they are some tougher matchups. The Jets got a pretty good pass defense here, so I'm gonna go Bruce as well. But agree with pretty much everything you were saying there. So and and so we'll move on to our last, I believe, matchup of the week: Lincoln versus Brian.
Ooh, yeah. So Lincoln, man, his team's been kind of up and down too. He's got Dak Prescott, which he just really has not been playing well this year. Been playing better than Joe Burrow, but really just has not been consistent. Throwing a lot of interceptions. Like I
Mm,
said, I realize their team's been kind of blowing teams out of the water with their defense. So they don't need to rely on him as much. So that kind of, if I'm being honest, that concerns me a little bit because in the times that they do need him, he's not performing and it's showing on the fantasy end. You sometimes have guys that aren't good football players, but are good fantasy players. Dak, you're seeing that he's not playing well. And it's also translating to the fantasy side too. So that's tough. And then his running backs, I do not like the fact that you have Elliott and Moss. I'm just trying to see. He's got Najee on bye this week.
oh my gosh,
He's
he's
got
got
AJ Dillon on bye. So I mean, you're dead set on those two guys and starting them. I
yeah.
think Zach Moss can still maybe have a little bit of value this week yet. But that's kind of what's been carrying Lincoln's team a little bit. He's RB6 right now in the year. But you got to think that his value is just going to creep lower and lower and lower as Taylor's workload gets ramped back up. Now, Taylor, he played 15% of snaps. So theoretically, what does he play this week? Maybe 30 or 40, maybe even more.
Yep.
That eats into Zach Moss's 23 carries he had last week. So I think instead of 23 carries, Zach Moss has somewhere between 10 to
15 maybe.
15 tops. Might
Yep.
not even have that much because a lot of that depends on game flow too.
Yeah.
So I'm very concerned on that part. He's got really good receivers with Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, Nico Collins, and Adam Thielen. They've been playing really well. That's what's keeping this team together right now and gives him a chance. And then you look at Kyle Pitts. That guy's a roller coaster. Not really panning out. I have him in a couple leagues too, so I feel your pain, man. But you really hope that he can score 10 plus points a week because that's what you drafted him to do, is to be that,
Hmm.
next Travis Kelsey. And he's not that right now. Going on Brian's end, I know Brian just suffered his first loss, but I think Brian's team too is kind of down on the downtrend. Anthony Richardson probably not playing next week. Justin Jefferson, he's on IR now. He's still got Devontae Adams. Um, and then Sam Laporta, I really like him. He's, I think, the tight end one right now. He's just going berserk. I really like him a
Yep.
lot. But then, and then also too, he's got Kamara, which has been good because he's been pretty consistent. But then outside of that, he's got Darren Waller, Tyler Algier, just guys that, I mean, I like Darren Waller as a tight end, but when you have him in your flex spot, that's tough because you're having to rely on a tight end doing, getting a good amount of points, which
Right.
he has been. But again, when you talk about the positional advantage of having somebody like Adam Thielen over Darren Waller, I would take Adam Thielen any day of the week. Um,
Which is kind of crazy to say.
I am going to take Lincoln. I know I probably just shat on Lincoln a lot through my commentary, but I'm taking him because of the four receivers he has in his lineup. Um, I think they're going to be enough to win him this matchup, and I think Brian's team right now is trending a little bit down with Justin Jefferson being out. I think that's a huge blow to this team that changes the way that I look at it right now.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm fairly Richardson he'll probably miss. So, um, so that's two of your best players right there
Got Zach
not
Wilson.
playing. Oh boy, yeah, that should be fun. Yeah, like it's crazy. This is, I think, the most bye affected team this week in Lincoln. But that'll happen when you've got three Packers and they're on bye.
Yeah. I've seen so like just my thought like I think this league has had a lot of consistency with scoring and having like higher scores this season. I think we're
Mm-hmm.
going to start to see that lower a little bit as we see injuries increase and then also the
And
bye
bye
weeks come
weeks.
into effect. So I think this week more than ever we're going to start to see that, and I'm seeing that more as we're talking through these matchups.
Yep. Yeah, you mentioned it, these running backs. I mean, you mentioned, they could increase JT to 30% and then 60 or whatever, but who knows if they just go, all right, JT, you had your one acclimation game. It's all you now. So like it could be even quicker than we all realize. So um I'm sure Devonta will have a better week. And Brian, mentioned the double tight end Waller has been good at times this season. Like last week, I'm sure you would have taken 16.6 in your flex, but he has not been super consistent. Um, I feel like this one's going to be pretty close, which is kind of crazy because we got two teams kind of on the opposite sides of the record spectrum here. But I think I think well, first of all, Brian's got to fill these two slots here. Um, so obviously taking Zach Wilson and Odell Beckham, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't like the options that he's going to have to replace those guys with. Not that those players are bad. It's just
They're
that
just too inconsistent.
you can't replace Justin Jefferson in your team.
That too.
Like,
um,
you
yeah,
just can't.
I'm gonna go Lincoln here, agreeing with you here. He's just got more guys that have higher upside, more stability. Um, Kyle Pitts finally had a game, so we'll see if he can make it two in a row. And then it's crazy to say, besides Devonta Smith, Adam Thielen's been Lincoln's best player. But I mean, that's not a knock on the team. Adam Thielen is the 10 receiver on the season, so it's just kind of crazy where we're at. That Adam Thielen is so good right now.
Well, Thielen and Nico are his two top receivers. And you look at Devontae Smith and Garrett Wilson, they're both respectively wide receiver, I think 26 and
27 for
27.
Garrett, and Smith is 26. So yeah, he's got 26 and 27, and then 10 and 11, and the 10 and 11 are Nico and Thielen. So crazy world, but yeah, I'm going Lincoln as well. So, and that is all the matchups for the week. I glanced earlier while we were going through the matchups, like, oh, we're at like 38 minutes. We're gonna, be under an hour, and we still could make it. We've got like a minute, but
I'll be better.
yeah, we just can't help ourselves. We just go on too long. One of these days we'll figure it out and maybe be like 45. But yeah, should be a fun week. Kind of sneak peek it a little bit, but the following week is rivalry week, so that should be fun. Maybe we'll have some sort of extra little thing with that. I know the rivalry week in and of itself is a special little thing, but maybe we'll have like I don't know, if we like continue the same rivals or week or year in and year out, we can have like that axe that Badgers and Minnesota play over or something like that for each rival. Something to indicate the why they're rivals. I feel we'll have a lot of frisbees, or what's like a symbol for roommates, but yeah, should be a fun week. Good luck to everybody except for Adam,
And Abby.
and Abby. So the A's, just hopefully they all do bad. Alex Fiala too, I guess. Then that would make him part of that group. I think that's it for A's, right? In terms of starting.
I think so, yeah.
So, all right, T-Cord, any final words?
No. Good luck, everybody. It's been a really competitive season so far. So
Sure
looking
has,
forward
yeah.
to the rest of it.
Anybody's game, or getting anybody's league. So it's just all
Yeah.
about those wins and losses, I think, at the end here.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the points as well, but
Make some trades.
yep. Hopefully we
Let's
can
make it
get some more
happen.
trades. I'm gonna try to work on that. I know I usually am one of the higher frequent traders, so we'll see what happens going forward. But
Yeah.
with that, thank you and thank you.